children, we wash your hands, do this, do that.
Stop picking your nose.
Well, guess what? Now it's kind of like amplified. So, and I was even talking to a lady today in our store earlier today, and she stopped her child, and they took care of their hands right there. And I'm like, if you do this as teaching this little kid even more, so it's going to grow. So things like this is going to change too. You know, the way we interact with people and the way we take care of ourselves and respect other people for the way they need to take care of themselves.
I think that's true. I mean, once upon a time, I mean, right now, I think everybody washes their hands after they take a dump. Everybody agrees that's the right thing to do. Once upon a time, it wasn't. I mean, that's, you know, in the Muslim faith, that's why they eat with one hand and they because the other one's not clean.
Right.
You wipe yourself with that hand, and people really didn't wash that well. But people just do that.
Yeah, and you can go back just as early as, say, the Civil War. I mean, when you had surgeons that weren't washing their hands while they were operating on this soldier and that soldier.
And some got septic, some didn't, and nobody knew why. But again, we're smarter now. I mean, now today, or let's say a month ago, everybody knew you had to wash your hands after you took a dump, okay? You wash your hands before you eat. Now, you know what? You wash your hands all the time.
It's training, though. It's the training of the mind, though. It's if you teach,
but it's cause and effect too, which I guess is training.
It is. If you do something amountable times, it becomes habit. Right. Sure. So therefore, if you're teaching that habit, everybody has this habit.
Sure.
And we lose those habits.
Well, that's just it. You used a good word. It becomes a habit. It becomes second nature. It doesn't become something. Okay, now I've just gotten done taking a dump. What do I do next? Oh, yeah, I remember now. I washed the feces off my hands. Well, we know it's second nature. It's a habit that we've just learned.
Yeah, so Harpdog, you had mentioned this is kind of a reset. And here's an interesting point that was brought up actually by my son. He said, Pops, he goes, since COVID-19 has hit so hard in Italy, the canals in Venice have not been so clean in decades.
Yeah, the birds have come back to the canals. I saw that. The same thing with Wuhan China. I mean, that was just Wuhan China. I mean, I'm familiar with the area because there's a lot of manufacturing that takes place there, and there's a lot of items from the supply chain of stuff that we use in our industry from there. But Wuhan, China, the city has 15 million people in it. The metropolitan area has 60 million people. There are more people in the Wuhan metropolitan area than in the state of California.
Yeah. And the state of California holds 1 out of 8 people in the country.
Imagine that. Okay.
It's hard to imagine. I mean, there's so many people, and you and I have had that conversation strong that people in Wuhan, China actually rent like a little space that they can sleep in.
That's Hong Kong.
That's Hong Kong.
That's Hong Kong, the little sleeping space. I mean, they may do it in Wuhan too. I don't know, but in Hong Kong, I know they do it. But it's just unbelievable. Yeah. But it's a different culture. Everything has just changed.
And now that manufacturing has been shut down in Wuhan, China, the video or the pictures from space from the satellites,
the pollution's all but gone. It's all but gone.
Yeah. Which
it'll be back in a couple weeks, though, folks.
Well, I think you're right. Well, you know what? But will people have learned? Well, wow.
Hopefully,
this is wow. At nighttime, you can see stars. You can breathe the air without your nose hurting. Maybe people are going to start liking that. And that was always my whole big deal with the whole global warming thing. I'm a independent.
You weren't buying carbon dollars?
No, that's ridiculous. But I will tell you something that's not ridiculous. I mean, you can argue, you can't argue climate change because the climate is changing. You can argue, why is the climate changing? Is it just because of a sun cycle, an earth cycle, pollution?
Or is it because the cows are farting too much?
Yeah, cows are farting too much. Why is that? I don't know. If they really wanted to do something about climate change, if those that believe that pollution is causing climate change, don't say we need to stop climate change. Say we need to cut back on pollution. Because who's for pollution?
Nobody.
No, I'd just as soon breathe the filthy air. I'd just soon drink water that's not even clear. That's what I'd rather have. I love landfills. No, nobody likes that. If they would have taken global warming and just taken the politics out of it and said, you know what?
Change the verbiage.
Let's make cars blow cleaner out of the tailpipe because the air's cleaner that way. Let's recycle because we don't fill up the ugly landfills. If we just put it that way, nobody would be against that.
I'd be totally down with riding live wire motorcycles.
I want to race an electric dirt bike in the woods. You know, the Alta dirt bike was an awesome idea.
And by the way, the internal combustion engine will always be around. But 20 years from now, I predict they'll be making more electric cars.
Definitely. I think, and I talk to this about my daughters all the time too, that are a younger generation. I think that it will be an alternate source of energy. Period.
They'll find something else.
Yeah. It's going to work for a lot of areas and a lot of different things, but it's not going to work for some, and combustion engines will work.
Well, but here's the reason why electric cars are going to be the future. And proof in the pudding is the last contract that the UAW made with GM, Ford, and Chrysler. They weren't real big on getting more wages for the guys and gals. They were, but the main thing they wanted to do is guarantee employment for those people, because it takes a whole lot less to put together
an electric
car than it does an internal combustion engine car.
Yeah.
How many moving parts are there in an internal combustion engine? Do you have any idea?
No clue.
Do you know how many moving parts there are in an electric car? 2.
There's 2.
That's it. 2 moving parts.
Wow.
That's it.
Wow.
When you have a problem with your car, it's one of 2 things. You need to replace the engine or the software. That's it.
Wow.
I mean, think about how many Teslas. There's a lot of Teslas out there.
Yeah.
Teslas are becoming very common.
But they don't have dealerships.
No.
Because
Don't
they
need
don't
'em.
break. And when they hey, you have a problem, you call in and they download new software and it fixes the problem.
Yeah.
Or sometimes they have to do things like replace the engine, replace the brakes, some of that kind of stuff too. Bearings in the wheels, sure. But there's no oil. There's no
Valve
coolant.
jobs.
No.
There's no valves.
And the cars become affordable. I mean, you can
transmission.
You can get a good used
No transmission.
used
That's right.
Tesla right now for about $30,000.
Really? Well, the expensive thing about them right now is the battery.
Yeah.
Batteries are expensive, but they're coming down. Musk has that big giga plant out in Nevada, and he's wanting to build another one here in the actually wanting to build the truck plant here in the Midwest someplace.
And Ford's on that too. Ford's putting
They
out
are.
the F-150 that is going to be having electric.
Well, and is it Ford or GM? One of the big 3 are partnering with Samsung on batteries. Samsung or Panasonic? Maybe it's Panasonic. I think it's Panasonic. They're partnering because there's going to be a second gigafactory that makes the batteries.
Yeah, what's that town in Nevada?
Carson City.
Carson City.
Just outside of Carson City.
Yeah.
Because I worked with a guy, I didn't work with him. I saw him camping one time, and he had worked for a tool and die shop outside of Carson City, and they did a ton of work for that giga plant.
My question, as a kind of guy that doesn't know a lot about the batteries, what do we do this thing when we're done with it? Is it recyclable, or
I'm not sure.
Is this thing going into waste? Because
No.
it seems
I don't think so. I think they're repurposed somehow.
okay.
I think it's kind of like a battery in your car. You know, you don't throw them in the trash. You take the lead and you recycle the lead, and you probably throw the plastic case away, but the lead plates inside can be recycled. I think
Right.
these are the same. Well, they lithium ion batteries is what they call them.
Yeah, I like the battery in my dirt bike. Believe it or not, it is lighter than.
Yeah, these new crazy dirt bike.
They're incredibly.
batteries are
They're
just
so light. They're less than
couple
a pound.
Really, they used to be a big, bulky wet cell.
Now,
Yeah,
now
they're not.
They're so light now.
Really?
It's
Okay.
incredible.
Okay. But yeah, everything's changing. I mean, you guys are telling me, electric motorcycles.
That was so cool. And the crazy thing, Harp actually brought up the Alta, which is it's a motorcycle manufacturing company that is now out of business. But they built a motocross
called Alta.
Alta, A-L-T-A.
Where were they built? What country?
Here.
Here, it
US?
was a California
Yeah.
company.
Okay.
Yep. And they essentially just ran out of money, before they could manufacture and sell their product and begin to make a profit. They just ran out of money. But I did read that who bought all of the R&D from Alta?
Who?
Harley Davidson.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it will be back, and can't wait to get on the darn bike, but it'll be the future. They just haven't made the battery last long enough to sustain a GNCC race or NEPG or even a local hair scramble. But they're about a half an hour to 45 minutes short on that.
But I can see that being an everyday commuter.
Oh, definitely.
I can see it being public transportation. I can see it being, the vehicle that you get in, and your work car, your work truck.
Right. Well, the first electric car I remember, the Nissan Leaf. Mm-hmm. It had a range of about 76 miles. I thought, this will never work. 76 miles. If you're 25 miles away, I guess in theory you can make it. Unless you get stuck in a traffic jam. Right. Then what do you do?
Then you're fucked.
Yeah, pretty much. You are. But now these new Teslas, they get upwards of 300 miles into the charge.
So it's interesting. This just popped into my head. So while we were out at Bike Week, we were talking to a bunch of different vendors and just having a blast. Mm-hmm. Well, this one guy, he was giving away one-time disposable battery chargers for cell phones. Why wouldn't they have something like that? And we asked him,
like a hot shot for a cell phone?
Yeah,
a hot shot
they give you 30% back.
Yeah, 30 to
really
35% back. Bam.
Get you where you're going to go, and
So why can't that same technology be used for a electric motorcycle or a car that you can give it a hot shot? So if you are stuck in traffic and you're going to push past that window, that will get you to your destination.
They'll figure it out.
They will.
They will.
I mean, they have that now for cell phones. You get them at the airport. They call them, I think it's called the Rod. It's $10, I think, $10 or $15. But what you do is you have one that's spent.
You sure that's not a nickname for a porn star?
I don't think so. It's right there in the terminal of an airport. And I've seen a lady use one before. But I guess it could be a porn thing. You've seen a lady use one before.
That was going way south on that conversation right there. You can't come back from that.
But what she did is she took this rod and she put it into the vending machine, and it popped out a new one. She took that new one, stuck it in her phone, and started using it again. So for $10, $15, you basically get a recharged rod. And I don't know how popular they are. I mean, I tend to be a little bit proactive and just, okay, I'm 30%, so I'll plug it in. But some people aren't.
Yeah.
Some people live on their phones more than I do, maybe. Yeah. But no, they'll come up with, they'll get that technology.
They will.
They will.
Yeah, it's just right around the corner. Yeah. It comes down to supply and demand.
I think we're in the infantile stages of this.
Infancy.
Yep.
Definitely, it's way past us. We'll be long gone.
Oh, yeah. We're dinosaurs. We are freaking dinosaurs.
The cool thing is we get to see a lot of this.
Yeah,
and
man.
we get to ride the live wire. Oh. My dad would have loved to ride the live wire. He's a motorcycle guy. So, then, at least we get to see that.
Well, if we can hang on, I think we're going to live to see a whole lot more than we think because that
I do too.
Because that curve throughout history, I mean, it continues to ramp up at a much every year. It's a much faster rate.
Yeah.
I mean, the current day job I have is I've been there 18 years, and when we first started, you got a cell phone, okay, but it was the old candy bar Ericsson Nokia cell phone, and don't use that thing because it's expensive. Just use it in emergency.
Yeah.
And you call in 3 times a day on the 800 number, of course, to get messages that your customers may have left for you. Yeah. Can you imagine that?
No. Speaking of that, right there, I can stop because my iPhone, or it doesn't have to be an iPhone. It can be whatever you have. But this on-time laptop that I walk around has made my business grow bigger than most landlords, property managers, real estate investors prior to me. So much smaller because mine is huge. I can manage so many properties
just on your phone.
Yeah, because I sit there doing things on my phone all day long, talking to people, getting things done, all from this little piece of plastic junk, and it gets it all done. Before, I used to have to go home, check my voicemail, follow up on that, go the next day. Nope. I can do
fax
it all
something over.
instantaneously. I can be in the bathroom taking care of my business and take care of 6 things that you never even